My golden child brother destroyed my grandfather's heirloom, so I exposed his inappropriate relationship. My brother has been a golden child since the day he was born. My parents desperately wanted a son, and when they had him, all of their attention was shifted onto him. As I was the older sister, I was left behind a lot, and neglected severely. The neglect was bad. I would go hungry some nights because my brother wanted a second portion of food and I was forced to give him my plate. Girls are meant to be skinny anyway, my mother would say to me whenever she did this. My birthday was not even celebrated most years, and when it was I would get a few cupcakes. I don't remember getting a single birthday present past the age of 10 from my parents. My brother took glory in this too, the entitlement spoiled him a lot. He never failed to bask in the fact that he was better than me, that he was the favorite, and he was a bully too. I had a lot of bruises from him, and being a girl I could not fight back a lot. Whenever his birthday came around, he would show off his presents to me, knowing that a few months ago when it was my birthday, I got nothing. This was one of the ways he made sure I knew I was inferior to him. I had enough when I was 16 after a particular event. It was my birthday. I woke up knowing it was not going to be celebrated heavily, but this year I was hopeful it would be different. A few weeks ago I told my parents I would love it if my birthday was celebrated this year, and I was not asking for extravagant presents, just a nice cake and perhaps a family dinner at a restaurant of my choosing. They agreed, and being excited, I booked a restaurant for us four for my birthday. Well, when my birthday came, there was no cake. Cool, whatever, maybe dinner will still go ahead. The table was reserved for 6 p.m., and when 5 p.m. rolled around my parents told me they are taking my brother go-karting and that I can order myself some pizza later. They're going for food later. And won't be back till late. They left before I said anything, and I cried a lot. That was the day I moved out to my grandfather's house. I was gone with my belongings before they came home. My grandfather was the only person who understood me, he gave me presents, I was never hungry at his, he was my comfort person. When my parents found out I was gone they called me, and when I explained that I would like to live with my grandfather, my mother responded with a lukewarm, "If that's what you want." None of my family spoke to me for the next 7 years. The next time I saw them was my grandfather's funeral. We made small talk, and I found out that my brother was 21 with no driver's license, not in school, dropped out of high school, still living at our parents', had no job, and had a 16-year-old girlfriend. It was appalling for me to realize that my parents were okay with him leeching off of them, but it did not surprise me. Well, at the funeral I was wearing my grandfather's watch. A watch he left for me, and a watch that was priceless to me. It was not a watch I planned to wear a lot, just on special occasions, and of course I wore it to the funeral as a way to commemorate him. My mother told me that the watch looked expensive, and I told her I do not care about that. Well, she butted in, suggesting I sell the watch and give the money to my brother. Apparently my brother was looking at getting a place for him and his girlfriend, and needed some money. I suggested to my parents that they should help him out, but they said that they did not have any money. She said she also knew I was doing not bad for myself financially and can afford to do this for my brother. I did not engage in this conversation, I didn't even bother to explain my answer. I simply told her no. For the next few months my family and I did not talk, and I thought that was that. But my mother reached out asking to come over, and promised not to talk about me lending money at the dinner. I agreed. In hindsight I do not know why, I think she pressured me into saying yes, as I did tell her I wasn't sure, but she kept pressing. Either way, my parents and my brother came over the next week. The dinner went well, but that night I noticed that my watch was gone. It was there earlier in the day, I knew that. I saw it. I searched the house to make sure and confirmed that it was not in my house. My family had to have taken it. I called my mother, and to no surprise she denied it at first. I pressed her over and over, and it was only when I bluffed about having cameras in my house and pressing charges that she cracked. She told me my brother took it and plans to sell it. I told her if he goes through with it I will press charges. I will drag them through the mud, and I expect the watch to be returned to me tomorrow. She tried to yell at me but I hung up. I sent her a text right after telling her she has until tomorrow night to present me with the watch. Well, she came over the next day with my watch. At first I thought it was a miracle, I was going to get my watch back without any trouble, but as always with my parents, it was not so easy. The watch was broken, it was cracked badly, and it would cost a lot of money to fix. I asked my mother what this was and she said with a grin, "Your watch. I hope you're not too angry, I accidentally dropped it," chimed in my brother. I saw red at that point and exploded at them. I yelled at them so loud that the neighbors came out and my parents drove off. I spent an hour looking at the watch and crying. I managed to get in touch with someone willing to fix the watch, thankfully, but I could not allow my brother to do such an awful thing and go unpunished. So what I did was quite petty, I have to admit. But it's also something that my brother has coming. I went onto my IG and messaged my brother's girlfriend. Here is a picture of what your boyfriend did to my grandfather's watch. The watch I cherished. I then went on to say what my brother and parents put me through when I was younger, as well as our backstory. I also asked her if she thought that a 21-year-old man dating a 16-year-old was normal. She thanked me, and I can guess she left him. Because I got so many angry messages and calls from my family blaming me. Calling you a vengeful bitch and all sorts of names. I think I'm going to go no contact, and potentially even report my brother's relationship to the police, as his girlfriend revealed to me that he was physically and sexually abusive at times too. Firstly, I have some great news to share, and that would be that I was successfully able to get my watch fixed. The person who did it was amazing and even did it for quite an affordable price. I have also hid my watch in a much safer place in my house in case anything again ever happens. But on to the main point of this post, and it is that I decided to report my brother to the police. I of course got my brother's ex-girlfriend's permission to do so. After talking to me a lot about the relationship, she said to me that I made her realize just how abusive it was and how not normal it was. She was under the impression that he was older and more mature, that he has been working towards an online business of his and that is why he was unemployed. Of course this was not the case, but I digress. She told me that after realizing that she is a victim of intimate assault and abuse, she wants to seek therapy for the trauma, and wished her well. As far as the police report goes, my family are of course furious as my brother is facing some serious consequences for having inappropriate relations with his ex. My family are begging me to try to convince his ex to drop the charges, but I told them that it is not in my hands, and me telling her to drop the charges would be a disgusting thing for me to do. My mother tried to argue that we are family and need to stick with each other, and I told her that my grandfather was my true family, and that they are just some people who I happen to share DNA with, and that by itself does not justify the abuse they put me through. I'm doing my very best currently to move on with life and try to avoid my family as much as I can, but I am also cooperating with the police as much as I can as I was the one to report my brother originally. I'm truly hoping he faces justice. Maybe some time in prison would do him well.